Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. I'm just wrapping up a couple of builds. I just built some MHX CB845 rods for some smaller crankbaits and some topwaters. Can't wait to get those out on the water. And while I've been doing that, I was thinking about a question that I got from one of my subscribers regarding different swim bait hook choices and the angles in the eye of the hook. So I want to get into that. Before I do, I just want to remind you guys to subscribe to the channel. Every month I'm giving away prizes from my sponsors. We always give away jerky packages from Bridgeford. We do a couple other sponsors, just random stuff. We've given away Abu Garcia reels and stuff like that in the past. All you have to do is subscribe to the channel. That gets you entered into my monthly drawings for as long as you're a subscriber. So if you have not subscribed yet, please do so. So to get into the question, the question specifically is, when do I choose a 30-degree line tie or a 60-degree line tie or a 90-degree line tie with my swim baits? They were recently looking to buy some different swim bait jig heads and didn't know the differences in how those hook eyes would affect the swim bait as a whole. So I just wanted to do a quick video regarding those different line choices. And there's a lot more than 30, 60, and 90. You can get 40-degree eyes, you can get different variations, but just for the sake of this video, I'm going to talk about a 30, a 60, and a 90, and that kind of gives you the gamut. And you'll see from a 90 to a 30 kind of how that you get that dial and how the presentations shift from a 90 to a 30. So a 90-degree jig head, we'll start with that. Like the Matt Steffen Dirty Jigs Guppy head. This is a great bait for open water fishing. Anytime you have a 90-degree jig head, on open water swim bait fishing, where you're throwing it out, and either if you're fishing deep or shallow, you're just kind of fishing the middle of the water column, that 90-degree jig head will keep your bait parallel in the water column. It's a great hook for that open water presentation. It's also great if you're doing any sort of vertical jigging, like a Demiki rig, you're going to keep your bait parallel in the water column. So if you're fishing vertical, it'll keep your bait perfectly horizontal in the water, which is what you want when you're doing, a Demiki type presentation. But that's also how your bait will be retrieved when you're casting that bait, bringing it through the middle of the water column. It's not ideal, though, if you're fishing around cover, whether that's weed or wood or any sort of structure, because what happens, since you've got if this is your jig head and you get your line tie here, when you hit something, it's going to roll the bait down and your hook is going to basically be driven into that cover. So it's not ideal for fishing around cover. So I'm going to talk about the 30 degree now to counter that. So the 30 degree is kind of the opposite. It's the ideal hook to be using if you're fishing around cover. A 30 degree the 30 degree that I love is the Dirty Jigs Matt Allen swim bait head. It's specifically built for fishing, around cover like grass, because what happens when you have this is your jig head and you have your eye, which will be more up the front, it keeps your bait coming over the weeds. It doesn't catch and roll. The bait just kind of skims and bounces off the bottom of those weeds with the belly. The nice thing with a 30 degree, because it's also in the front of that jig head, if you're using a trailer, it really enhances the motion of that trailer. It really makes the whole bait wobble. Going back to the 90 degree, you still get great action out of your swim bait, but you don't get quite as much rolling when your eye is on the top of the bait. When it's in the front, the whole bait wants to roll with it. So you don't really have that the knot of your line or your hook eye kind of limiting the wobble, because it's in the front, allowing the whole bait to wobble. It's kind of like if you have You know, if you have something hanging, you picture your coal beams, right? If you're holding the top of it and it's centered, you know, the fish will weigh down one side or the other, but it's kind of on that pendulum effect. It's the same thing, you know, if you had that high up here, you're still going to get pendulum. You move it here and the whole thing is moving. So, you know, you maximize your bait movement by having the line tie the further up in the head. So, you know, if you're fishing around cover like weed or timber, it's a great bait because it's weedless, but it's also the ideal choice, in my opinion, for fishing like an umbrella rig. You know, in an umbrella rig, you're going to get, you have the weight of the bait is pretty much more the umbrella rig itself. That's coming through the water, pulling the baits perfectly horizontal behind it. Whereas if you're trying to fish like the middle of the water column with a 30-degree eye, you know, your bait wants to rise more and come the direction of your line because the line ties in the front of the bait. Whereas with the 90-degree in open water, that bait is kind of, you know, you're pulling it, but the way the bait is rigged, it's going to run more parallel in the water, which is more of a natural presentation. So in my opinion, a 30-degree is not the ideal choice for fishing like just open water column stuff. But if I'm fishing around cover or I'm fishing an umbrella rig, it is the best choice. You know, you don't want to use a 90-degree line tie on an umbrella rig because the umbrella rig is going to pull your baits more at a perpendicular approach through the water column. It's not nearly as natural. So to go with the 60-degree now, guys, I think you kind of see where I'm going with this. The 60-degree is going to be right in the middle of the 30 and the 90. So like the 60-degree swim bait head that I like is the Scottsboro Tackle Recon jig head. Now this, you know, to me, where the 60 degrees really shine is when I'm ledge fishing. So I want a bigger jig head that's got a lot of weight. I want to get down to the bottom, but I still want it to run relatively parallel in the water. So in order to do that, I want to get my bait to the bottom, run it, and then I want to keep it there, but I want to keep it somewhat snag free because as you guys know, if you're fishing ledge fishing, a lot of times you're fishing, you know, you hit stumps, you hit logs that have sunk to the bottom, you get stuck on rocks. So you still want something that's relatively weedless, and that's where the 60-degree is more weedless than the 90. So you'll be able to bounce it off the bottom and you'll be able to get it through that cover without getting snagged up. But your bait's still going to run more horizontal in the water column than it would if it was, say, a 30-degree. So that's, for me, that's really what it comes down to, guys. You're just trying to figure out, do you need something that's weedless? You know, you want to maintain a horizontal approach of your bait in the water. Then you want to make sure it gets through whatever cover you're fishing. So if you're fishing heavy cover or grass, go more on the 30-degree side. If you're fishing more open water up in the water column, a 90-degree will keep your bait running more horizontal in the water. And then if you're kind of trying to do a little of both, the 60-degree comes more into play. For me, I'm definitely more a fan of the 90-degree. I try to use that as much as I can. But as soon as I start getting into some more grass and cover like that, I switch more to the 30-degree. I don't throw a 60-degree a ton. It's really a straight ledge bait for me. But I hope this was helpful, guys. It's, you know, like I said, you can find hook degrees that are all within that, you know, even less than 30-degree range. But it's good to know kind of the general idea of what a 90-degree does, what a 30-degree does, and then you can alter your degrees based on what fits your presentation. So I hope this was helpful, guys. If it was, hit that like button, share it on your social media pages. Leave a comment if you've got specific swim bait heads that you really like, you know, at 30, 60, 90 degrees. And thanks for watching, guys.